I'm going to begin with the nav and work my way down adding the basic content. So with the nav, let's go ahead and drop down and let's add an H2. And for this H2, we'll have the text. Let's do Matt 125 recipe web book, like so. And we'll close our H2. And this is also for the Art 344 class. So if you are in that class, you would include your class name. So Art 344. All right, so I'm going to continue on as Matt 125, and when it's appropriate, I'll make reference to when the 344 class should brand something to their class. So I'm going to go ahead and comment the H2 out for the 344 class, but I'll keep the H2 in, but I'll just comment this out. Now, what I'm going to start doing is copy pasting some of the code. I've already written some of it, so it'll just be faster than watching me type everything. I'm going to have to fix the formatting, but you'll get the general idea. So in our nav, we're going to have our headline. We're going to use H2, and then we'll drop down, and we're going to use an unordered list. So let's fix our list here, like so. Okay. So inside our unordered list, which is going to be a bullet list, we're going to use a list item of previous and next. So the previous eventually will be a link, a button, which will go back to the previous student's web recipe. And next, of course, we'll go to the next student's web recipe on the server. Okay, so now what we need, let's see what will come next here. We have our H1. So I'm going to have my title. We're going to place an image inside the header. So we'll deal with the images in another video here. So here's our H1. Let's just scroll down a little bit, so we have some room. And now we are down to the main area here. And in our first section, I'm going to use a pre-tag. And I'm going to, so in this section, and I might move some of these sections around after I do the layout and depending on how I want things to look, but this is our start point. So I'm going to add the pre-tag, like so. And let's tab this over. So I'm just going to make sure these are tabbed over correctly here. So I'm going to have my rating, the print recipe. So some of these are going to be graphics, but I'm just going to deal with them as text, as placeholders for right now. So I'll have my total time, my level, prep time, the inactive time for this recipe, the yield, and the link, or what will be the link to the nutrition information. All right, so this section's now dealt with just with this placeholder text for the recipe. Now in the H2, my H2, I happen to have what equate to 3 paragraphs or 3 H2s. So my first one, and yours, yours will be based on, the content that, or the length of your introduction. Okay. Matter of fact, let's take a look. I might even be able to break this second one up into 2. So let's go ahead and add our next H2. Okay. And then again, in my example, I'm going to use a third H2 for my intro. like so. And now we're down to our next section. And in this section, I'm going to add an H3. And this is going to be a subhead for, I'm going to use this section for the ingredients, like so. And I'm going to place my ingredients in an unordered list. So it'll just be a bullet list. So let's go ahead and paste our ingredients in. Now I'm going to have to, again, fix this. But it'll probably be less time fixing the formatting than if I were to try to type all of these in. Just makes the video last a long time. So in this section, I'll have my ingredients. My ingredients will be in H3. Then the ingredients themselves will be an unordered list. Okay, so now we have what is our next section. And in this section, this is where I'm going to place my directions. So again, I'll use an H3 for my subhead. So it's a subhead for the directions. And I'm going to use a P tag for the directions themselves. So I'll follow the H3 with a P tag with my directions. Now, I'm just going to be on the safe side here. I'm almost done. I'm going to come back and do this next part. I'm just going to put some placeholder text in the footer. Okay? So, I'm going to deal with this later. And when I say deal with this later, as I mentioned in a previous video, I'm going to make the footer extra credit. So it's not required in the exercise, but I'll show you how to go about designing one. And if you want to do that and you want to earn extra credit, you can. If you don't, then simply comment out, or matter of fact, why don't we just say footer open for extra credit. And then I'm going to comment this out so we can still see it, but we can see it in the code, but we won't see it in the preview. So let's go ahead and comment out our footer type here, like so. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll back up to the top and make sure we save, and then I'm going to do a preview, and then I might come back and make a couple changes just to make sure that we don't have any character drawing issues. So if we now just preview our page, this is what we should see. Okay? And everything looks okay. So I'm just going to go back, and we'll start at the top. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to look at my type paragraph by paragraph. And wherever I see what is an apostrophe or a comma, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that they're not smart quotes. I think the commas here will be okay. So let's just double check. We'll just go through, and anywhere we see, like this one, you see how this one is different than this one here? Those concern me. And sometimes your type programs will do this to you. And it might just be the style of the font that was used, but I'm not going to take a chance. I'm going to make sure I have the defaults. I'm going to try to go through and find all of them I can. So I'm just going to go through real quick. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to go through and see if I find them all, and then so you know what I'm doing, and you don't have to just sit here and watch me. So I'm going to pause for a second. All right, I believe I have fixed all of those single quotes, apostrophes, so they should be okay now. Then looking through this, I noticed it depends on where, if you write the recipe yourself or if you find the recipe, you never know if whoever's writing the recipe is really used to a computer, or if they're still kind of old school. When I say old school, they still approach writing their type on a computer like they did on a typewriter, if you even remember what a typewriter is, right? So my point is, I noticed after the periods that if I delete, I can delete twice. That means that's old school. That's 2 spaces after a period, and you don't do that on a computer. So I'm just going to run through real quick and check and make sure we have a single space after each. Okay, so again, I'm going to pause. I'll fix those. Okay, so I have fixed all of the double spaces after a period and made them a single space. So we should have made all of our fixes. We have our content, our basic content, placed into our structure. Now it's time to start adding images and starting to add some of our CSS styles.